Hi team, my name is Joel Burley. I'm an escalation engineer with the UC Apps team.
Today's lesson will provide a brief overview of the virtual desktop infrastructure, also known as VDI. Our agenda will cover common VDI terminology, what is VDI, the VDI components, and how VDI works. Let's jump in and get started. We'll start with everyone's favorite, terminology. I will not go over each of these individually, as I will provide a more detailed description when we review the architecture later in this lesson. These are provided to make you aware of the terminology and provide a resource for reference. So what is VDI? VDI is a technology that allows users to access a virtual desktop environment. Instead of running a desktop on a local computer, a hypervisor hosts the entire desktop experience. This includes the user's applications and data. This allows users to access their desktops and applications from anywhere. Now we have an idea of what VDI is, but why use it? For most organizations, this comes down to a few simple factors. The move to VDI is often motivated by the need for centralized management, enhanced security, and/or cost savings. Normally, large organizations implement VDI, and it's a combination of these factors that fuel the decision. Now that I have provided a brief explanation of what VDI is and why customers choose it, we're going to move on to the VDI components. We will review each of the primary components, then review how they all work together. It should be noted that there are several VDI vendors that are supported with JVDI and WebEx VDI. Each vendor has their own terminology and components, but they all function in a similar way. Let's get started. The user's experience starts at the thin client, so the access layer is where we'll start. The thin client is any physical machine that is used to access and control the hosted virtual desktop. Thin clients can run a whole host of operating systems that we don't commonly see. The operating systems that we currently support are Windows, Mac OS, HP Thin Pro, Ubuntu, Unicon Elux, iGel OS, Dell Thin OS, 10 gig Zero clients, and Stratadesk No Touch OS. WebEx VDI supports all the operating systems I just mentioned, but JVDI only supports a subset. When determining the client support, it's best to reference the WebEx VDI and JVDI documentation. When using an HVD, the thin client users can connect to the virtualization resources via on-prem, VPN, or public internet. The last thing we should note on the thin client is the virtual broker client software that is in use. The virtual broker client software will differ depending on the vendor being used. Cisco supports the use of Citrix Workspace app, VMware Aranissa Horizon Client, Amazon Workspaces, and Windows app for AVD. Now that we've reviewed the user access thin client component, let's move on to the gateway component. The gateway component resides in the demilitarization zone, also known as the DMZ. Gateways provide external access to managed virtual services and work as a sort of proxy between the virtual broker and the thin client. The gateway solutions that Cisco supports when using JVDI and WebEx VDI include Citrix ADC, VMware Access Gateway, Amazon's Auth Session and Streaming Gateways, and Microsoft Azure's Gateway Services. Now that we've covered the DMZ, we'll move on to the next major component, which is the web page. Each virtualization vendor provides a web user interface that is used by the users to initiate the connection to the hosted virtual desktop. The common ones we'll see are Citrix Storefront, VMware Horizon User Web Portal, Amazon Workspace Web Access, and Microsoft's AVD Web Services. Up to this point, we have reviewed user access services, but now we move to the brains of the operation. The connection broker allows organizations a centralized management solution to deliver virtual desktops and applications to users. Its primary usage is to provide a way to organize users and virtual resources while orchestrating connections between users and available resources. Each virtualization vendor has their own set of services or features that are associated to the virtual connection broker. The supported connection brokers that are used with JVDI and WebEx VDI are Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, VMware Horizon, Amazon Workspaces, and Microsoft AVD Broker Service. If the connection broker is the brain, then the hypervisor is the heart of the HVD deployment. Hypervisors are the primary technology behind virtualization. The hypervisor manages physical resources like CPU, memory, and storage, and provides a way to reallocate these resources to virtual machines. There are various hypervisor management products that can be used in conjunction with the virtualization solutions offered by Citrix, VMware, Amazon, and Microsoft. As of the time of this recording, the most common solutions are VMware vCenter, AWS, Microsoft AVD, Citrix Zen Server, Google Cloud VMware Engine, and Nutanix xCloud. Although application and desktop pools are configured on virtual brokers, they are virtually hosted on the hypervisor. Ultimately, all HVD solutions aim to provide access to a virtual machine, and the hypervisor is the component that hosts all the virtual machines. Now that we've defined the components used in a VDI environment, let's take a look at how they work. The process begins from the thin client. The user opens a session to the VDI solution via the web browser. In this example, we've connected to the Citrix Storefront web UI. From here, we select the HVD we would like to use. Once selected, the connection broker will be engaged to find the user in HVD. The connection broker reaches out to the hypervisor and verifies the resources available for that user. Once a resource has been identified, the connection broker collects the connectivity and configuration details from the virtual broker agent running on the HVD. This information is then passed back to the virtual broker client on the thin client machine. With this information, the virtual broker client then forms a secure virtual channel directly to the HVD. When the virtual channel is up, data is passed between the thin client and HVD, and the user is then presented with the Windows desktop on the HVD. That brings us to the conclusion of this video. I hope this video has helped you to understand what VDI is, why we use VDI, the basic components in a VDI environment, and how it all works. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.